So today we are launching the celebrations. We have not yet made 27 years. We make 27 years in August. So we were created as a conservation financing organization 27 years ago. And before I get into the journey to describe the 27 years, first and foremost, I would like to welcome you, but also to say that today is the launch of the celebrations. So today is not the main celebration, but today is one of the events that are marking the launch of the celebrations. And before I go into any speeches or to describe how the journey has been, I would like to request the media team to show a video, a 5-minute clip of who the Environmental Conservation Trust of Uganda is. Thank you very much. It's been 25 years since Ecotrust started. In those 25 years, we've come up with models for landscape restoration as a business. And it's been 20 years since its flagship model, Trees for Global Benefits, was created. Trees for Global Benefit is a cooperative carbon offsetting scheme that links smallholder farmers to the voluntary carbon market.
A single farmer or two farmers, they're not attractive to private sector business. But look at us now, we have got 50,000 farmers together aggregated. That's a market. With that type of number, you're able to reach out to global markets and draw money from private sector in USA, in Europe, everywhere, and then you bring that money and distribute it to the household.
Everybody is desirous of being resilient to climate change, but the actual barriers are around financial flows.
Nyungu muntu yabira atashomere kunagumira ninzo mu nciko nagira cyetengo nanjye kwenda kushoma konka nashana takibasa konka nayitaga kushomesa bari kunkwataho so umukushomesa bari kunkwataho nashomesa umucyara wanje yabira yo wa murengo wasiniya konkati namushomesa yabira gibi nabana ni diplomazi ngwe umwana mutambara no ine diploma ya engineering mbugana n'abantu bingi nagira umuhimbo go kwenda kubasa kugira ngo nayo go mwidaranzo murindi mu kwadire n'ibintunguka so mpinduke bomwe.
On top of that, smallholder farmers are able to use that money to invest in businesses. Normally the businesses generate 3 times as much as they mobilize from carbon sales.
To call it powerful, yes, but I call it transformation.
Much of the biodiversity is actually in the hands of the smallholder farmers. To trim down on the rate of deforestation and the rate of degradation, we've got to work with the people in whose hands the land is. The Biocredits program is a program that is supporting local communities in Uganda to access financing in recognition of their contribution to biodiversity. One of the benefits that the biocredits bring onto the table is being able to measure the return on investment. That information is used to feed into an index. So every 1% change per hectare on that index represents 1 certificate.
Buyers are normally looking out for more than just how many trees you've planted in a community. So having the data is important to prove your quality of work.
Use this tree here.
To avoid human-wildlife conflict, restore the forests. We may not be able to restore everything, but we have to live harmoniously with nature.
The Land Trust program of Ecotrust was created to offer some protection to those pieces of land that are outside the protected area system but are important for conservation. It could be land that protects a buffer to protected area, or land that provides connectivity between protected area, or just a spot of land that has very critical biodiversity and needs protection. But the people that are neighboring the land do the management of the land, and also they are the primary beneficiaries of any proceeds that come from the management of that land. When the natural world is confronted with so many threats, it's very, very, very important for nature to stand out as an economically viable way of utilizing land.
The biocredits, the carbon, and everything will give us the finance that enables the communities to sustain their forests and also to improve their livelihoods. Nature is our source of life.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us today as we launch the celebrations to mark the 27 years of Trees for Global Benefit. Sorry, 27 years of the Environmental Conservation Trust of Uganda, but 24 years of Trees for Global Benefit, which is the most iconic program that we have. So today we are hosting media personalities, mostly that are based in Uganda, but also online we have partners. We have the partners that we have worked with over the years. For example, we have IUCN Netherlands represented online. We have Africa Development Bank also represented online. We also have some of the farmers that we work with. We have an interesting model that builds on local knowledge and innovation in stewardship to mobilize financial flows that come into conservation. So some of the people that we have worked with started out as farmers, and then they became farmer leaders, and some of them are the ones that coordinate some of the programs that we run. We would have had, but we have them, so we have them online. In the room here, we also have board members of Ecotrust. We have current board members as well as past board members of Ecotrust. I'm waiting for the media team to start the slides so that I can take you through the 27-year journey that we have had as Ecotrust. It's been a journey that represents both longevity and resilience. We work in this part of the world where not many companies or organizations live to see their first anniversary. But here we are celebrating 27 years. We're celebrating 27 years as a conservation financing organization. So I would like to take you through our milestones. Yes. Okay. Okay. It's not going to work. These things don't like my fingers. I am born before computers, so technology doesn't always respond to my fingers. Okay. Am I? Okay. So yes, we are a conservation financing organization. We mobilize financing from all sources. We were created with a mission to conserve biological diversity. We were created with a mission to conserve biological diversity and enhance social welfare by promoting innovative and sustainable environmental management. And the goal is to provide sustained funding for conservation. So we are a unique organization whereby our role is to make sure that financing flows into initiatives, conservation initiatives that are implemented by Ugandans. And over the years, we've come up with many different models, and okay. Yeah, so on my slides, this is 1999. I don't know why it has become 1666. So we were created in 1999 as a transformation of a former grants management unit of USAID. Many years ago, USAID used to manage their grants, but when they were phasing out that approach, they converted their unit that used to manage grants for environment into a local NGO, which is Ecotrust. So in the first 3 to 4 years, we received what they call a sinking fund, where they give you a pot of money to kickstart the trust. So we were 100% dependent on donors, but within that time, we were able to create, the organization was able to create different innovative financing mechanisms. In those years, we designed Trees for Global Benefit, which is a cooperative carbon offsetting scheme that links smallholder farmers to the voluntary carbon market. Right now, people are so excited about carbon offsetting and carbon finance, but we've been at it for 24 years or 23 years. But also, we launched a land trust program. For those of you who were present when the video was running, or if you've gone around on the exhibitions, you've probably enjoyed a virtual tour of one of the sites that we hold in trust for conservation. So we launched the program where we are able to manage private reserves, but also we are able to support communities to also manage reserves. So with those programs, we were able to reduce our donor dependency by about 1%. Then we moved the next period. Okay, so the period between, we designed Trees for Global Benefit in 2003, piloted it for 5 years. In 2008, it was able to be scaled out. Now we use Trees for Global Benefit as a conservation tool. It's a carbon financing scheme, but when we mobilize those resources, they are delivered to smallholders to use it for conservation purposes, but to also use it for livelihood improvement. So in 2008, we were able to scale out Trees for Global Benefit from the Queen Elizabeth area to the Murchison and Budongo Bugoma area, where we were able to now increase the hectares that are under improved management from the 65 that we had to 31,000. And by 2013, we had received an award. We received an award, a UN award, in recognition of our innovation. And by that time, donor dependence reduced to 38%. And then we launched an endowment fund. Okay. We launched an endowment fund, but also in this consolidation phase, we had also mastered the different approaches for community engagement, for business development. So for community engagement, we use a model that is called Gender Action Learning Systems, which was developed for social development, but we have adopted it and use it for conservation purposes. This is a model that empowers men and women to work together to confront the challenges that would have prevented development initiatives to take place. So then we also adopted the ILO Start and Improve Your Business methodology for the businesses that we support smallholder farmers. So what happens is that the model is based on landscape restoration as a business. We empower smallholders to develop business plans, to develop land use plans, and then come up with innovative ways of causing financial flows to go into those business plans. So the carbon credits, the biodiversity credits, financial flows that go into the smallholder-led investments, but then thereafter, the smallholders do their own business. They grow trees not because of carbon offsetting, but they grow trees because they want to produce fruit, they want to produce medicinal extracts, they want to produce honey, they want to produce all sorts of things, but we enable them to access other financial flows to make it economically viable, to make forestry as an economically viable land use. So we are at that level where we have now mastered or documented the innovations that we have. And also we have invested heavily in automation. We have invested heavily in digital platforms for monitoring, for reporting, for verification, so that our work is traceable. You should be able to log on to any one of those platforms there and visit one of the farms and see the trees that are there, and also see the carbon credits that are coming from that piece of land. So when I say landscape restoration as a business, this is how it works. So like I mentioned, we have these financial flows that are coming from carbon credits, biodiversity credits, donor funding, and so on and so forth. But the way we deliver those finances to the communities, we deliver them in such a way that the community will have their own business. So we have we have businesses that are targeting the international market, but we also have businesses that are targeting the local market. The businesses that are targeting the local market are normally resilience enterprises, things to do with production of fuel wood, water harvesting, and fish farming, things to do with food security, remnants, and so on and so forth. But they are also into high value businesses. For example, the coffee value chain, cocoa. We have launched a program where we would like the smallholders we are working with to go into organic markets for the shea nut, and so on and so forth. So the concept behind this is that the smallholder farmer should have trees on their farm, not because they are saving the world, but because it makes economic sense to use land that way. But in the process, we are also benefiting. We are benefiting from the climate regulation services. We are benefiting from the watershed services, the flood control, and so on and so forth. So those services are what we commodify. We quantify those services and get financial flows from private sector, mostly in Europe and US. We work with a group of private sector players that have also made a commitment to have zero impact on climate change. So on an annual basis, those private sector, they undertake a footprint of what their contribution is, convert that into monetary terms, and then we enable those flows to come into the work and initiatives of smallholder farmers in Uganda. But while the smallholder farmer is at it, they're not doing it because that person needs to offset their footprint. They're doing it because they're setting up an avocado orchard, they're setting up a medicinal extracts, whatever it is, they're setting up a timber production. Some of the farmers that we work with, for example, the largest suppliers of fuel wood for the tea factories in the in around the Lubirizi Bushenyi area. Yeah. So over the years, this is how it has all come together. Okay, it's not cooperating. Are you able to take it back to the timelines and milestones? Okay, there. So this is, I have not even touched anything. So this is how it has all come together. Even that 2018 was supposed to be 2008. We were founded in 1999 as an independent trust. In 2001, the Land Trust Program started. In 2000, we were founded in 1999 as an independent trust. In 2001, the Land Trust Program was operationalized with the acquisition of the Rwenzori Gateway. We have other pieces of land under the Land Trust Program. For example, we hold in trust the Chimpanzee Island in Ngamba. We also have families in Uganda that have had forests for a very long time, and maybe the patriarchs are about to, they are advanced in age, and they've requested us to hold that land in trust for conservation. We also have some land that we are holding in trust in the Budongo Bugoma area under the Land Trust Program. Then in 2003, we launched Trees for Global Benefit, which is a cooperative carbon offsetting scheme that mobilizes that links smallholder farmers to the voluntary carbon market. In 2008, we scaled out our initiatives. In 2015, 2018. 2015, we launched the endowment trust, but it became operational in 2018. In 2023, our iconic program, Trees for Global Benefit, made 20 years. We are now at 27 years. We are operating around five landscapes. We are in Queen Elizabeth area, Rwenzori Mountains, Mount Elgon, Murchison Falls, and northern Uganda. We have more than 70,000 hectares that we are managing together with the communities that we are working with. Some of it is privately owned, and the other are communities that have entered into co-management arrangements with protected areas like National Forest Authority and Uganda Wildlife Authority. We are working with more than 54,000 households that we have contracts with. We are now, from the private sector resources, as well as the financing that comes from our endowment fund, without mentioning the contribution the farmers themselves do, we are only 20% dependent on public donors. The majority of 80% of the money comes from private philanthropy and also our endowment fund. And the private philanthropy money comes as a service. Farmers that engaged in provision of climate services. So I would like to stop here and invite so I would like now to take you to where we are going. I would like to take you to where we are going as an organization. So if you could please, first and foremost, I would like to recognize the presence of board members. Some of them I've not seen in like 20 years, because all the people that have been board members in that 27 years are here in this room. We have Mrs. Nora Namakambo behind there is one of the ones that I've not seen in a really long while. We have Mark Mwine, Ambassador Fred Kafero, Dr. Panta Kasoma, who was also my lecturer, my professor behind there. We have the board chairperson, Mr. Isaac Kapalaga, who was also the first CEO of the organization. And then we have our treasurer, Mary Kusambiza. We have Madame Sarah Lubega, who is a former board member, but also chairs the Committee on Land Trusts behind there. I don't know if there is any other person that I've not seen. So if you could, Ivan, if you could change slides. So I would just like to take you to where we are going. Where we are going, first and foremost, on the journey of that we are celebrating. This has been an exciting journey. It has been an exciting journey of innovation, stewardship. It's really amazing how innovative Ugandans are. We work with smallholder farmers. We've been able to come up with tools that technically specify the plans of Uganda of smallholder farmers. A smallholder farmer draws a land use plan on a piece of paper, but when you look at that plan in a scientifically technical way, it is amazing the kind of things that the smallholders do. The smallholders have been able to come up with ways of alternative collateral on their own. They use the future cash flows that are coming from the carbon credits as collateral to access loans. These are people who they have land, but they don't have documentation for that land. So they can't use it as collateral to access credit. But in their own way, they've been able to use the future cash flows from the contracts that they have with us to work out some loan financing arrangement on their own. There is a community in Kasese that has come up with some health insurance scheme of sorts. They have constructed a clinic. They have the members of that circle, that community that receives the carbon credits, they pay 50% when they access the medical services. The other 50% is paid by the profits that are coming from the circle. And this is some in the mountains. I don't know, it takes, I don't know how many hours to be able to access very, very, very remote communities. But they are able to understand these concepts of collateral, of health insurance, and so on and so forth. So we are entering into a new chapter where we would like to document all these things. That's why we've started the celebrations by launching a media through a media breakfast, because we would like to have partnership with a number of people. We would like to have partnership with researchers to be able to document this impact using what they call the five capitals: the financial assets, the natural assets, the social capital, the human resource, and so on and so forth. We would like to be able to document this impact using that livelihoods framework through a program, our business development program that is headed by Mr. Freddy Kalibwani, who is seated over there. But also, so basically these are the things that in summary that I talked about. So this is, in summary, the impact as we have had it. But what we would like to do is to be able to take a deep dive into this, to document what is so innovative that has been able to get us to here.
and even having systems that can trace it, for you to be able to say, I was a youth, now I have built a house, I have my children. You saw the man was saying, I never went to school, but I made sure that my entire household I've taken to school. His wife has graduated, and I think he's now the DISO of the district. So we need to be able to work with different partners to document this. But also we would like to transfer. We would like to transfer the knowledge and also innovations to other people. So we are working, so we will produce an impact report, and this impact report will actually be what we will launch as the main celebrations to mark the 27 years. But as we walk towards that impact report, we have gone into a partnership with the Africa CSO Biodiversity Alliance to hold a number of webinar series in which different actors on the African continent can see which versions of the Ecotrust model they can replicate in their countries, including Ugandans and Ugandan CSOs. Then thirdly, just like how we are working with private sector in Europe and US, we would like to work with private sector in Uganda so that they can identify opportunities even within their value chains that can be made more resilient by partnering with the communities that we are working with. And then last but not least, or probably even most importantly, work with the government of Uganda to build on the local knowledge, traditions, values, and stewardship systems, which is what our program is based on, to be able to transform what we currently have as biodiversity or climate challenges into investment opportunities. Investment opportunities that benefit people and the planet. Thank you very much. So I would like to welcome questions, comments. I would also like to recognize other board members that have joined online. We have Christine Lalobo. Yeah, I'll say them as I see them. We have an audience of about 42 people online, and most of them are our partners, and including former board members. So, who is Paul? Are you moderating the question answer session? I don't see any online questions, but please. I see partners from WCS. Okay. So Paul, we are in your hands.
Thank you very much, Pauline. If we can just have yourself and the board chair take the questions. There are 3 questions, starting with Ruth Adong from Sanyu FM. And then the second question will be asked by Wycliffe Sebunya from Radio 1.
Hello, my name is Ruth Adong. I'd just like a bit of Hi, my name is Ruth Adong from Sanyu FM and from the Good Morning Africa podcast. I'd just like maybe a bit of clarity on your the distribution of your carbon credit program, especially for the local communities. And I also know that you started the program in northern Uganda. If you could give us feedback on how that is going or at the point of maturity it has reached.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Pauline, are you ready to tackle that one?
I was a bit interrupted by.
Okay.
Kezia.
Ruth?
If you could just repeat.
Kindly, if you can just come and repeat the question. Sorry for that.
Hello. So I was asking about if you could maybe help us explain the distribution of the carbon credit returns from the international market, how that works for the different farmers or the different areas where you have this program running. But also, I see that you've started the same program in northern Uganda. If you could update us on where the program has reached and how many people have been reached with this program in northern Uganda,
Very much.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much, Ruth. There are very many ways of designing a carbon scheme. The one that we run is a cooperative carbon offsetting scheme where different smallholders do different initiatives and then we aggregate it together so they own the carbon credits. So everybody, I could have 1 hectare, you have 2 hectares, another person has 3 hectares, and maybe you are putting a woodlot, me I'm planting on the boundary of my land, another person is using a different systems. So the amount of land that you have and the system with which you're using your land determines how much carbon is going to be stored on your land. So in this cooperative carbon offsetting scheme, just like how you aggregate coffee, she brings 2 kilograms, another person brings 5 kilograms, another person brings. So when we put it into the pool, everybody receives money according to how much they put into the pool. But also, the smallholder gets 60% of the revenue. 40% of the revenue is for certification, for monitoring, for capacity building, and so on and so forth. The 60% goes as cash transfers into the pockets of the smallholder farmers. But they also benefit from the 40% through the technical assistance and the capacity building and all the aggregation, the work that goes into the aggregation. And then for them, they use that money for the businesses, but they actually earn a lot more revenue from the businesses. So they use the carbon revenue as investment capital and then invest it, and then they earn a lot more money from the beekeeping and the medicinal extracts and so on and so forth. There is a certain level of investment that is required to prepare a site to participate in the market. So right now, with funding from FCDO, from the British government, we have been preparing the communities in northern Uganda around the Agoru Agu Central Forest Reserve. Because you saw in our presentation that our initiatives revolve around protected areas. So we don't work necessarily inside of the protected areas, but we work with the communities around the protected areas to try and relieve pressure from the protected areas. So we are working, at the moment, we are working in Kitgum, Agago, Lamo, and Padel. So at the moment, we have designed the system that they will be using, because northern Uganda is very different from the rest of, anyway, all parts of Uganda are very different. It's a very diverse community. So we've just designed farming systems that would be suitable for that land. Most of it is assisted natural regeneration, but also that's why we are targeting the shear landscape. So we are targeting the shear landscape. So and also alongside the carbon credits, they will also be getting access to the shear market through the organic certification. We've gone into a partnership with Nilotica Shear Alliance for the communities. So when we take a carbon scheme into an area, it's never purely about the carbon. It's about the investment opportunities that are in landscape restoration. Then alongside that, an additional financial flow that is coming from the carbon credits. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Pauline. As we have the next question from Wycliffe, I'm just going to ask our digital team to get ready for the next set of questions. So Rachel, Sharon, Linus, and Solomon will be taking your questions right after Wycliffe's. Thank you.
we've seen on several occasions government allocating forest land to public, rather to investors. And in a way, it sort of discourages people from protecting the land themselves. So if you could advise on how it can balance both economic development and forest conservation.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very brilliant idea, and that is what this is all about. You know, forestry can be an economically viable initiative, and even natural forests or forestry that is native to Uganda. So over the years, the private public partnerships that government has been having has been converting natural forests into eucalyptus plantations or pine plantations, because that is what had been promoted as an economically viable alternative. But when you combine the financial flows that are coming from the timber, but also that are coming from the environmental services, it becomes a competitive land use scheme. So the concept of government partnering with private sector is not a bad concept per se, but most of these things, how do they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So we need to be able to design these partnerships in a manner that benefits the environmental services, but at the same time also makes it economically viable for either government or private sector, whoever the manager is. But the concept of government going into partnerships with private sector is not in itself necessarily a bad concept, but it needs to be, we don't have to sacrifice the environmental services at the expense of what we consider to be economic benefits. The environmental services are actually useful or critical even for the sustainability of the business itself.
All right. There's a follow-up question, and I know, Pauline, this may be answered better with the impact report that we're going to announce later on. But what's the impact that Ecotrust has had on households and people over the last 27 years? I don't know if you have a figure.
Yeah, first and foremost, we have the 54,000 households that we can track for those 27 years.
54,000,
yes.
54,000.
More
Okay.
than 50, over 54,000 households that have received the financial flows from, and these are the ones that have received money from the carbon market. There are others that we have worked with through the grants and so on and so forth. These are communities that have, each household is an economic unit. Each household has a business plan, a land use plan. For some, this is the very first time they've ever sat down to plan how to use their land and have real proper expectations of the financial flows and so on and so forth. But also, for those 54,000 households are organized in close to 200 community groups all over the country. And the majority of those business groups have businesses. They have group businesses. We have what we call centers of excellence that work as aggregation platforms. The same platform that we use to aggregate for carbon credits, we also aggregate for coffee export, for honey export, and so many other things. So yeah, so maybe I could just stop there.
Okay. All right. So we'll have a couple of questions from the digital team, starting with Rachel Chokushaba, and then followed by Sharon Birunji, Laina Satwine, and finally Solomon Sempala. So Rachel.
Hello, Pauline. I'm going to ask a question. No. I'm going to ask on their behalf. So our question is, for us who are so much into digital, and we searched about Ecotrust. It has an amazing website. but it was our first time to hear about it as people use social media, Twitter, X. So I don't know how you're going to work into including us too, into knowing what is happening, what Ecotrust is doing.
Yeah, thank you very much. As an organization that has been around for 27 years, we kind of belong to the old school where things are in pen and paper, but we are also an innovative organization. The same way we have innovated around carbon credits and what have you, we are also going into partnerships with media. So right now we have a partnership with COG, and that's why Paul is holding that microphone, where we would like to leverage it on the digital revolution to be able to share our innovations, but also to learn from what other people are doing. So, for example, we have an initiative with the biodiversity team where they are popularizing some of the work that we are doing using sights and sounds from the wild. For example, they normally record chimpanzees or some of those rare animals or critical animals and document how they are living their lives or how communities are engaged with them and share on our channels. So it will be useful for that generation to engage with the kind of people that understand. But it's a new field that we are going into, and we have a team of young people that will be dealing with that. I mean, you saw for me, I can hardly work the remote. That moves. Like I said, I'm BBC, born before computers. But we have a team of young people that are working in that sphere, and we would be quite happy to engage with people that know how to engage online. Thank you very much.
I'm Christiana Nkamsima, and I have a simple question. I wanted to inquire how are the young people involved in the Ecotrust programs, and how can volunteers or students also be part of the activities that are taking place? Okay,
thank you very much. We do have the majority of, I'm the oldest staff member in Ecotrust. The majority of the people in Ecotrust are young people, but we have a graduate trainee program where on average we take on about 40 fresh graduates. Most of them come at master's level, but even if they come from to participate in our activities, the biodiversity monitoring, the carbon monitoring, and so on and so forth, the farmer community engagements. But also one of the really exciting things that we discovered when we launched the biodiversity credits program, you know, when you're working with issues to do with land, the majority of people that you'll be engaging will be like my chairman. They are the ones that have the land, and therefore you'd be going into negotiations with them. They are the ones that are making the decisions. But when we launched the biodiversity program, because it is using digital tools, the young people are the ones that are tech savvy. So now you find all the biodiversity monitoring is being conducted by young, I don't even know what, you know, like really boys, not even boys and girls, you know, like 19-year-olds. And they collect that information, and now they are moderating the discussions because they are the ones who collected the information from the field, and they are moderating, and they are leading a community meeting because they are delivering information they brought from the field. So leveraging on digital technology and digital platforms has been able to bring in a set of people that before that were not necessarily engaged in conservation initiatives. So we have many avenues from a very technical perspective, but also from the business, from the livelihoods and the enterprises that in which we are involving young people.
All right, thank you very much, Pauline. We have 3 more questions from Martin, Radio Simba, Ivan New Vision, and Ismail Bukede TV. So let's start with Martin.
Okay, good morning. This is Martin Amaiko Chigongo from Simba. We would like to know your different activities program from now to August. What Ecotrust will be doing.
Okay, so the main activity that we are planning for is the August one, where we will launch the impact, where we plan to launch the impact report. So activities between now and then will be documenting or analyzing the data that we have to be able to produce that impact report. However, we are also planning a farm tour. Do they call them that? Familiarization tour. The same things that you've been seeing in the exhibits at the back of the room, the different products, the different communities. We would like to take the media so that they can engage with the beneficiaries themselves and to get first-hand information on how the project has impact, or the programs of Ecotrust of the 27 years have impacted them. And the others that I already mentioned, the webinar series that we are going to have with the Africa CSO Biodiversity Alliance. We also, because our stakeholder group is international, we will also have other events at international level. We started actually with the business of conservation in Nairobi. We'll also be attending things like London Climate Action Week and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ismail Nsuka. I work with Bukedi. Ekibuzo kyange njagala kibuuza mu Luganda. Okusooka ojja tuwaako mu bufunze kye tuliko olwaleero. Era ekyokubiri otubulire ki kye musinga okwenyumirizaamu mu myaka gino 27. Era nga tujaguza bubaka ki eri abantu bonna olw'obuweereza bwammwe. Weebalire ddala nnyabo.
Olwaleero lunaku lukulu nnyo lwakubanga tutandise okujaguza emyaka 27 gye tumaze nga tukola n'Abannayuganda, nga tukolera wamu ng'Abannayuganda okugezaako okufuna engeri gye tufunamu ensimbi ezijja eri abantu abakuuma obutonde. Abantu abakuuma obutonde emirundi egisinga babikola mu ngeri ng'eya nakyewa. Naye guno omulimu gwe tujaguza olwaleero guli nti bannakyewa abo basobodde okufuna ssente ezibayozaayoza olw'obunnakyewa. Okubeera nga ogwo omulimu ogwandibadde ogw'obwannakyewa actually bagufuddemu business. Yeeyo kye tusinga okujaguza olwaleero. Era tujaguza nti Abannayuganda bajagujagu nnyo. Abannayuganda bajagujagu nnyo. Katonda yali yabawa nga yabawa talent. So tusobodde okubeera nga tukozeseza talanta eyo oba obujagujagu obwo ne tusobola okubeera nga buli muntu alina ekibira oba akabira oba engeri ennungi gy'akuumamu ebyobutonde asobodde okufuna ssente. Nga bw'onoobeera nti gw'oli musawo ojjanjaba abantu ne bakusasula. Nabo babadde bajjanjaba oba bakuuma ebyobutonde nabo ne bafuna engeri gye basasulwamu etali ya bulijjo. So kyekyo okubeera nga tusobodde okukikola mu myaka 27 nga buli mwaka tugenda tukula, tugenda tuvumbulayo ebipya eby'okukola, n'olwekyo tukyebaliza Katonda. So olwaleero tutandise olugendo olw'okujaguza, naye ng'okujaguza okukulu kujja kubeerawo mu mwezi ogw'omunaana mu August, kubanga mu August eyo lwe tuweza emyaka egya 27. Tugenda kubeera nga tukolagana n'abannamawulire. Kati olwaleero tutandise enkolagana n'abannamawulire tugenda kubeera nga tukolagana n'abannamawulire okubeera nga bagenda bakyalira abantu ababadde betubadde tukolagana nabo bo babeebuulirire enkolagana yaffe nabo ebadde etambula etya, biki bye baganyiddwamu, biki bye bakoze, kubanga be bannannyini innovations ezo. Naye tugenda n'okubeerawo n'enkolagana endala gye tulina n'abasayansi n'abakugu abasobola okuwandiika ddala innovation eno efaanana etya, bikulu biki byereeseewo, ne biki bye tuyigamu, n'abantu abalala basobole okulaba nti nabo basobola okuyigamu bakole so that tulina companies oba organizations nyingi mu Uganda ezisobola okubeerawo for 27 years, 50 years, 100 years, kubanga abantu bangi nnyo bateekawo ebitongole oba ebimu bya bwannakyewa, ebimu bya bizinensi naye nga tebiweza mwaka gumu. So ffe tusobodde tutya okubeerawo emyaka 27 ate nga buli mwaka tukula. Kiki ekyo kye tukoze Abannayuganda abalala kye bandiyigiddeko, okubeera nga tulina companies n'ebitongole bingi ebisobola okubeera eby'omugaso ate okumala ebbanga eddene mu Uganda. Wangi? Amaka ge tukoze nago ge tulina contract nago galinga emitwalo ng'etaano, naye nga waliyo amaka amalala mangi nago agaganiddwa naye nga tetulina contract nago. Naye ge tulina contract nago nti nze lino ettaka lyange naliteeka nga lya conservation oba lya bibira, ago gali amaka emitwalo 5.5 n'obugwamu. Kakati amaka ago buli maka gakola plani y'ettaka lyabwe. Betukolagana nabo abasinga obungi balimi. Kati abalimi oyo akola plani, business plan, naye ne planning gye bayita management plan. Kakati bwe bakola plan eyo ne balaga nga we bagenda okuteekamu emiti okutuukiriza plan eyo. Kati ffe bwe tujja ne tulaba engeri gye bataddemu emiti ne tubala nti emiti gino ginaalya carbon dioxide yenkana ki. Kakati ne tubawa certificates ezo ne tubeera nga tulina engeri gye tuzikyusaamu ne zifuuka ssente. Kati nga obanga engeregenye ku ki, kati omanyi nga Fernando we tuba twasomako ku kibayita photosynthesis, omuti we guba gukula, ffe tuba tussa oxygen, tussa oxygen ne tufulumya carbon dioxide, emiti gyakyo egyo gitwala carbon dioxide ne gifulumya oxygen. Kakati guno omukka gwonna gwe tussa, abo abalimi be tukola nabo be bagutuwa. Kati oyinza okusalawo olwaleero nti nze ngenda kupima oxygen yenkana ki gwendya bulijjo, oba bwe nvuga emmotoka zange carbon dioxide yenkana ki gwe nfulumya, n'ogamba nti bano abalimi be tukola nabo ogenda basasula kubanga bakuyamba okuggyamu obukyafu bw'oleeta mu nsi. So ye engeri kwegamba gye tukolamu. Tulina ebitongole ebisinga obungi biri mu America ne Europe ebipima carbon dioxide yenkana ki gwe bifulumya buli mwaka. Kati ffe nga tulina system wano, buli mulimi gwe tukola naye carbon dioxide yenkana ki emiti gye girina gwe gijjamu. So ne tubawa certificates ne tuba connectinga ono private sector ye yakoze gye bayita footprint carbon dioxide yenkana ki, ono farmer ye naye yakoze land use plan carbon dioxide yenkana ki, emiti gye gigenda okujja mu bbanga ne tuba connectinga. Nga bw'ono connectinga omuguzi wa coffee n'omulimi wa coffee, bwe tutyo nabo we tuconnectinga abantu abo.
Tumaze okujaguza emyaka 27.
Ebisomoozo byo bingi, ebisomoozo bingi mu myaka 27. Ekisomoozo ekisinga obunene nti gino emirimu gye tukola gyetaaga obukugu bw'amaanyi nnyo. Gyetaaga obukugu bw'amaanyi nnyo n'okulowooza okw'amaanyi, gyetaagisa nnyo ebintu ebiva mu bwongo. Ate nga abantu abalina obukugu obwo si bangi. Abantu abalina obukugu obwo si bangi, naye gyetaaga n'obugumiikiriza, okutandika okunnyonnyola ebintu bino n'obinnyonnyola abantu baffe abo be tukola nabo, kwegamba si kintu kyangu. Ate neera n'okuzuula abantu mu private sector abanaasalawo nti kale nze ngenda kuwangayo ssente eziyamba ebintu ebyo, nakyo si kyangu. Kale n'osanga nga buli mwaka tuba tulina okuyiiya, okuyigirizibwa, kwegamba investment y'amaanyi gye tuteeka mu kusobola okufuna obukugu obwo obututuusa gye twagala okugenda. Kwegamba plan esinga obukulu yakubeera nga kye tukola tukibunyisa Uganda yonna. So tuli mu landscapes 5, naye twagala tubeere nga buli wamu tutuukayo. So tetunaba kutuuka mu bifo ebyo ng'ebirimu obwindi, tetunaba kutuuka mu bifo bya Karamoja, Teso. So emyaka egijja twagala tubeere nga mu Uganda yonna buli muntu alina ku chance eno oba ku mukisa guno okusobola okubeera nga nabyo programu eno emutuukako. Naye kaakati n'ekirala, programu esinga obunene ebadde eno eya carbon credits. Kati neno twagala tusobole okubeera nga ne programu empya eya biodiversity credits nayo tusobola okugituusa ku level y'emu, ku mutindiro gwe gumu nga gwe tulina ogwa carbon credits.
Bantu bangi bakyakola omulimu guno ng'ogwa bannakyewa nti basimba emiti naye nga tebalina kyebafunamu, naye oba osanga nabo bandiyagadde ofunamu. Kati mwe nga Ecotrust mubayambyeko omuti okulaba nga bizinesi bagiyingiramu nabo.
Bwe babeera bakola mu bitundu bye tulimu bakyasobola okututuukirira ne tukolagana nabo, kubanga twagala nnyo okukolagana n'abantu. Buli wamu tetusobola kutuukawo, naye tusobola kutuukawo nga tukolaganye n'abantu abalala. So tulina offices e Kasese, Kitagwenda, Hoima, Masindi, Mbale, Kitgum. So webabeera nga baliraanye mu bitundu ebyo basobola okutuukirira offices zaffe ne tulaba engeri gye tusobola okukolaganamu nabo.
All right, so I have 2 more questions, and I'll also ask our board chair, Mr. Isaac Kapalaga, to get ready to summarize, because I saw him taking down points very well as Pauline was talking, and also to give us his remarks as we prepare to have a photo, as we also launch the impact report. I'll also ask the board chair, Isaac Kapalaga, to introduce the rest of the board members as he comes to talk. So as he prepares, I'm just going to take 2 more questions, starting with Joseph here.
Thank you very much, Paul. My name is Joseph, and I work with Capital One Group. So my question is, as many corporate companies, environmental conservation is becoming a key thing that they have to include in their mandate, especially for CSR. How can Ecotrust help such companies that are looking forward to advancing or improving their environmental impact? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those initiatives are quite welcome, and we also are cognizant of the fact that to some this is new. So first and foremost, we can work together to support private sector to understand how linked environmental issues are to their own value chains. So there is a relationship with most of the businesses or private sector with value chains. Sometimes it's an impact relationship. Sometimes it's a beneficial relationship. Maybe it's a dependency relationship. So some private sector depend on environmental services, especially agriculture-based value chains. So we can work with private sector to identify environmental investments that will not only benefit the environment but will also benefit the value chain. But then also we can also work with the private sector to identify what their negative impact is and invest in those opportunities that directly link with reducing or offsetting their impact. So there are many ways of approaching it, and we have tools and that have a scientific basis. But also we can point them to other experts that are probably better than us in working out some of those areas. Thank you.
My name is Chiganda Beka, and I'm a media influencer. My first question was about the challenges because, you know, it's never a smooth road, but they've tackled that in the Luganda version. And also, during your talk, I've not heard about how the local community, how people can join, but you've told us how the community is engaged. So who do I run to if I want to join the program?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very good question as well, because as I said, all our initiatives are implemented. They are designed, owned, and implemented by smallholder farmers. So in all our offices that I've mentioned, we have an office in Chitagwenda. It covers all the communities around the Queen Elizabeth area. We have one in Kasese. It covers the communities in the Renzori area. In Mbale, covers the communities in Mount Elgon area, Kitgum, northern Uganda, and Hoima and Masindi for that area near Murchison Falls and Budongo and Bugoma. So what happens is that you walk into our office, there is an expression of interest form that you fill in, what your name, your location, and how much land you would like to put under forestry and what type. And then people from Ecotrust will come and visit that land, take a map of it, and then your details will be entered into the system, and then you'll attend trainings that explain to you what this is about, the different choices and options that you have, and then we start working together. And the people are welcome, even if you're not yet ready to sign up or put aside your land, but you just want to participate in our trainings or awareness raising, because we understand that different people, it's putting your land aside for a long-term investment like forestry is not a simple decision, and sometimes people need to consult their families and what have you. But people are welcome to attend our events and attend as many as you would like to attend before you even make up your mind on which part of your land you would like to set aside. So yes, it's open. We call it self recruitment. Everybody joins as and when they are ready. Pick a form, fill in, and then people will come and visit your land and see whether the land use you have decided is appropriate. Because sometimes your land is quite clearly being used for food security, and then you're planning to put trees. So when people come and visit, they will advise, you can't have this much land over trees because then you're going to starve or you're going to deprive other family members access to land, but give you an option that will be able to help you participate, yet at the same time also not affect things like food security. So it's very important that an expert comes and visits your land Then we also have a program called Farmer Voice Radio, where the different farmers that work with us form listener groups and they produce radio programs. The listener groups meet once every month and they build content for a whole month. And at the beginning of the year, they develop a farming calendar, identify what issues are important for the different parts of the year. So there are discussions during those times of the year to do with issues that are relevant. And these are farmers that are already engaged and involved. So they work as the experts and produce radio programs. So people can also participate in those radio programs, hear from experts that have grown and nurtured trees and participated in all these other businesses, to learn from them and also probably do some of the things that that they do. So we have many avenues through which people can participate, and all these programs are run in the local dialects. What is the word? Moderated by some of the local DJs in the area. So it's a group of communities, a listener group, moderated by a local popular DJ of the area, but in the presence of technical experts. But the technical experts are not the main experts, but to correct anything that maybe the farmers may have misrepresented or using a different word, yet maybe they mean something else.
Good morning, Pauline. I'm Ivan Tivenkana from New Vision. Seeking some insight in regard to 4 areas, which are quite brief. One is in regard to what's coming up. Usually they say tax is the price you pay for doing well. So how ready is the local market in regard to taking on the tax aspect when it comes to the carbon markets? Because regulations are coming through and then the policy is also coming through, which will eventually attract a form of tax. So I would like to know how ready Ecotrust is in approaching that space. Then 2, enlightenment in regard to the retirement of credits, bio credits. At what point does that come into play? And then through the 27 years, how does it reflect? Then the other is in regard to the demand for the bio credits. You've highlighted the US market. How does it compare with the African context, and what informs the seemingly lack of demand locally, perhaps in Uganda, and then from the African perspective? Okay. Then lastly, it's in regard to the price of the bio credits, rather the carbon credits. What's it currently? And usually there is worry in regard to it being low, especially on the voluntary market, and what usually informs the variations.
Okay, those are too many.
No worries, those are 4. The first one is with regards to tax. Yes. On the carbon markets. How ready is Ecotrust to handle this? Maybe let's start with that one.
We are a compliant organization. We do comply with the local laws and regulations, but also we are a not-for-profit. So whatever laws that govern a not-for-profit, there isn't any board member or any member of Ecotrust that benefits dividends from profits. So we are not a profit-making organization, and therefore the laws that govern not-for-profits are different from the laws that govern government, but also, private sector. But also we are a compliant organization. If where we are supposed to pay tax, we do pay the taxes. The thing is, the regulations, the carbon regulations, put a payment depending on what the credit is supposed to be used for. At least the regulations that we have now, if the carbon credit is being used to enable Uganda meet their nationally determined contributions, the fee that they charge is different from the fee they charge if, for example, Uganda would need to make corresponding adjustments, and therefore the carbon credits are being used to meet another country's obligation. But really what happens is that, like I said, these credits belong to the smallholder farmer. So where the smallholder farmer is now getting 60% of the price, if government of Uganda puts a 30%, so the smallholder farmer will end up getting the 30%. So the cost of it is at the end of the day transferred to the smallholder farmer. For the buyers, we are trying to engage with them to see if they are able to absorb the tax, but we are seeing that what is going to happen, some of them will move and buy from other countries, because the kind of buyer that we get from is a voluntary market, that their interest, they would like the impact on climate, but also they are primarily looking for performance-based ways of delivering money to smallholder farmers. So if in their opinion, other countries enable the smallholder to get a bigger fraction of the money, chances are that financial flows now will favor those countries. So the way taxes are written, they have a way of impacting even the markets that we are able to access, because the way the climate change market works, a service, it doesn't matter whether it's happening in Australia or Uganda or Kenya, it still benefits the same buyer. So they have a wide choice. The price, you said, how is the price? Actually, voluntary markets can have a bigger price than the, at least when we were still in the CDM market, our prices were like 3 times what people in the compliance market pay. But the thing about the voluntary market is that there is no standard price. It can be $2, it can be $50. It depends on the buyer, how generous they are, because these are not people that are obligated to offset, but they've decided to enter into the market. So we try and invest in strategies that improve the price. A carbon credit will fetch a higher price if it is benefiting smallholder farmers, if it has what they call core benefits. For example, if it is benefiting smallholder farmers, and also if it has biodiversity benefits. So some of the things that we are trying to do, like the impact report and putting in place systems that quantify the other environmental services, is to be able to give it as a high quality carbon credit to be able to compete favorably on the market. What else did he ask?
Then there were 2 other questions on your reflections on the growth of biocredits over the last 27 years.
And why there is no
And then the
market in
final
Africa.
one was demand for biocredits, comparing the US versus Africa.
Yeah. You see, because the way the market is structured, even when you look at carbon credits, the demand comes from the level of emissions. So the level of emissions in African countries or in Uganda is not the same as the level of emissions in an industrialized society. Now, carbon credits, biodiversity credits are even more challenging, because whereas the climate benefits can happen in one part of the world, benefit everybody in the world, and therefore the whole world is your market, biodiversity credits are different. They're very location specific. So it takes quite a bit of innovation in building partnerships to be able to bring in financial flows on the basis of the biodiversity credits. So you find that because of our location, because of the state of the environment that we have, we are more of suppliers than demander, is that the word? Than demand. So we are more of the suppliers of the services, as opposed to us being the market. But some efforts are being put into place to create avenues for having buyers from the Africa continent for both the biodiversity credits as well as the carbon credits. The biodiversity credits is a much younger, it's still really in its infancy, and mostly learning from the carbon credits. But biodiversity credits are very location specific. Buyers have a much stronger relationship with a landscape that is generating the benefits. So it takes a lot more innovative ways of locating that buyer who has a relationship with the landscape that is generating the credits, or iconic species like chimpanzees, mountain gorillas. Yet really the service that you are having the biocredit for has a lot more than those iconic species. So it takes a lot of more innovation to be able to access that market. It's a lot more complicated than the carbon market.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together and give a round of applause to Pauline. A bigger hand clap, please. As you heard, she's really tried her best, even as she was struggling with a sore throat that she's been having. At this moment, I'll just invite our board chair, Isaac Kapalaga, to give us the closing remarks, the summary of today's event, even as we prepare to sign off the launch of the impact report, and also to close as we need to let our media partners move on to other events. So, board chair, please take the center stage kindly. A big hand clap for board chair as he comes in.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, still morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you all. I would like to belatedly welcome all of you. I hope we have our government of Uganda representatives, our partners, both in here and online, and our farmers out in the field, as well as staff of Ecotrust, and last but not least, my colleagues, past and present board members. You heard from Pauline, the ED, take us through what Ecotrust, boy, girl, no longer baby Ecotrust, has gone through since 1999. And as a founder, promoter, and initial ED, I'm really very, very humbled to be here. Just in summary, a lot of questions have been asked, and Pauline ably answered all of them. She talked about our latest expansion area in northern Uganda. That was not an easy one because of the distance from here to northern Uganda, but I'm glad that our very efficient, sophisticated team at Ecotrust was able to roll out that program. And of course, we look forward to expanding into more areas beyond the Acholi sub-region. She also explained that the government policy of allocating land in forest reserves is not intended to stifle the voices and benefits of the local communities. For those of you who bother, and I know that the majority in this room are news, are reporters,
If you go and look at the background to the land allocation scheme in the Forest Department, later on NFA, it was meant to replace or regenerate degraded forests. Halfway though, for reasons that I cannot explain here, the whole scheme may not have been efficiently managed, but having worked with one of the investors that had been allocated land in a forest reserve, I think these investors, especially city ones, have very elaborate environment, social, and governance policies. I know that we built health centers for the communities. We educated a girl child. We did community roads. So we are always there. Apart from the usual song of creating employment, we did boreholes and ensuring that people get clean, safe water. It's just that eventually, by 2015, everybody thought there was gold in forest reserves through planting trees. And actually, this program created a middle class, and to the extent that everybody started clamoring for land. And just like anything everywhere in Uganda, systems collapse, and people now started invading natural forests, unfortunately to hack them down, to plant trees that promised them benefits in the shortest time possible, which was either eucalyptus or pine. The ED explained the impacts on the communities. Although most of what she said actually were processes, and I believe you should have learned by now that today we are launching this program that enables us, hopefully, to start answering the question of, so what? After recruiting so many farmers, working with so many households, planting so many trees, conserving so many natural habitats, and therefore generating biocarbon, after mobilizing and dispersing millions of dollars to the local communities, the question of so what still lingers, and it's one of the reasons why the board of Ecotrust sanctioned this process, and I can assure it's going to be a very involving process, getting all of you here and eventually getting most of you to go to the field to look at what is going on. Is going to be quite taxing, not only in terms of money, but even to the operations of the Secretariat, and we are happy to make that sacrifice. She also explained that most of the operations, especially surveys that are being done, are being actually conducted by young people. So much as the oldies still hold on onto land, negotiating land rights and what can be done there, but eventually I think the local communities are pushing us out, and our transition is for real. Main activity, she explained the main activity that will lead to the launch of the impact report, which is going to involve a lot of research work, a lot of documentation, field visits, with a view to analyzing the data that you collect, generate information that can help us answer that question. At the end of the day, we want to be able to say, yes, this farmer in Hoima around Bugoma Forest or other forest reserves that are there, surrounded by sugar estates, is better off, or this is the impact of our activities vis-a-vis those that made a decision to go into sugarcane growing. Challenges are quite many. There's no way she could have elaborated everything. You know, carbon credits are not ordinary science. You know, how I wish this came before I became a scientist. But so the approach is, you know, the validation, but even convincing people that they can get out of 5 acres of their land, set aside part of that for agroforestry. It was not easy, but I can assure you, as we speak, in areas, the old areas like Queen Elizabeth, we've had spontaneous growth of the program to the extent that we are saying, okay, let's go slow in recruiting new farmers. Certainly would have loved, I have personally, the ED has been contacted, for example, by agents of His Royal Highness the Kabaka of Uganda. You know, they are hearing about Ecotrust, carbon trade. There's nothing big going on here. But first of all, we must know that our partners partly have been driving where Ecotrust works. If the German embassy had money, and that money is supposed to address climate change issues, yes, there are climate change issues here, but also there are areas where those issues are much more pressing. So we've tended to go to those areas. But thank God we are also innovating. We are trying to design programs and try to attract donors that can help us have a presence in most parts of this country. Although, of course, we cannot be everywhere. And this NGO, this trust, cannot in any way ever attempt to replace the functions, responsibilities of the government of Uganda. The other challenge that remains as board chair is, of course, attracting, hiring and retaining people who can stand the rigors of the work that takes place with Ecotrust. That's a challenge, and what makes it even more challenging is the toxic environment that you all know that this country operates in. Ecotrust has its core values, and one of them is integrity and honesty. So we've had people move in, and before you even know, they have realized that they cannot survive in that island called Ecotrust. She talked about the process of recruiting new farmers. She also tried to answer questions about taxation. Ecotrust is a very highly compliant institution. If you don't pay taxes, if you don't treat people well, if you don't, you don't file our returns, there is no way the corporate world in America or in Europe is going to come and actually partner with us to buy the credits that are carbon credits that are generated by our farmers. She talked about pricing. That can be volatile at times, but she explained to you that one time the credits that Ecotrust generates can be attract more money than those in the voluntary, than those in the compliance market. And the prices are never, I can tell you that about a year ago, the trend was that the carbon credit prices were up, but now they seem to be stagnating. Finally, let me take the honor to introduce to you some of my colleagues who are here. Some of them have worked with them for as many as 27, 28 years in the cause of Ecotrust. And just to remind you, ours is a professional, not-for-profit board. no board members gets anything out of this institution. And because of that, that has helped us actually to maintain an arm's length with management of Ecotrust. I say that is good because they make their decisions, they propose policies that we approve, they propose budgets that we approve, and monitor budget performance, but nobody, not even the board chair, is able to dictate to Ecotrust where what should be their priority in terms of spending the resources that they generate. Can I ask Dr. Panta Kasoma? Dr. Panta Kasoma is one of the initial more than a dozen promoters of Ecotrust. He's also been a chairperson of Ecotrust board before, and is still going. Thank you, Panta. Next, I'll introduce Madam Sarah Vega. Oh, Senior Counsel, Sarah Vega. She's been a board chair before. She's the most active retired board member. She kindly agreed to chair our Land Trust Committee. Thank you. Can I introduce Madam Mary Sambiza, the treasurer of the board of the trust? Next is Mr. Mark Mwine, current board member. Next to him is His Excellency Ambassador Fred Kafero. I can also see colleague, retired Commissioner for Wetland Affairs, Madam Nora Namakwambo. I'm informed that Christina Lobo, retired board member, is with us online. Juliet Namsoke, one time a treasurer at the trust board, is online. Madam Julie, she is our audit committee chair. I don't know whether Madam Margaret is Miss Mased online, or she was before. So that's the board in short. We recreate each other, and once your term, maximum year, 6 years ends, you have no choice. There is no supplementary term that you serve. So I'd like to thank you once again for agreeing to partner with us, members of the press. It was by our choice that we remain lying low until when we think that we have things that make our visibility relevant and add value. And we hope that you can now start actively talking about Ecotrust on TV, print media, and the digital platforms. It's very exciting. You may not see me there quite often. But otherwise, thank you very much. And can I ask the ED to recognize the people that support us to access the carbon market?
We have representatives from My Climate. We have Silvana and Sylvie online. We also had people from Zero Mission. These are foundations, mostly foundations. For example, My Climate is a Swiss-based foundation that helps that assists the smallholder farmers to share their story in German, Sweden, Switzerland, to identify the carbon buyers that buy from the voluntary market. We also have Zero Mission. Others were online, but I think now they have dropped off. We also have the Africa Development Bank, represented by Chika. We have been partnering with the CSO division with the bank to be able to popularize some of these innovations. We also have Dr. Kalist online from the Ministry of Water and Environment. He's also been very supportive of our initiatives, especially those that contribute to water catchment management. We had Issa Katwesije from the forest department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. And with that, I would like to subject to signing off, I'd like to declare this session closed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If the rest of the board members, past and present, can join us as we launch this impact study, or the study for the impact report for Ecotrust. Madam Sarah, Mark, Dr. Panta, Ambassador Fred Kafero, Mary Kusambiza, the treasurer. If you could just join the chairman. So we are launching the process of producing a report that will document the impact that Ecotrust has had for the past 27 years, so that we are not celebrating when the actual celebrations come. We are not celebrating words. We know exactly where the money has gone and what the money has resulted into. So hopefully in August, you will actually be the ones telling the story, what you have picked, gathered from the farm tours that you have had. Paul, we are in your hands. So are we all signing? If you hear something not falling off the podium.
I will ask the Ecotrust staff to please come. Kindly please come. And let's join the board here. Please. Jonathan, please bring your team. Melissa, you're still seated. Please, 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 please. We're about to finish. Diana, Rispa, please. Come. All right. Feel free to sit down. There's a lot of space here. And you can also sit here, since we are very many and we want to fill in as many people as possible. Some can squat, other people can sit. Yes, fantastic. Fantastic. Let's aim for the middle. More people in the middle. Make sure you're being seen. Some people are not being seen. Can you see everyone? There's some people here on the edge. Okay. Big smiles. Okay. One more. Ecotrust, oye, with, hands in the air. Ecotrust, oye. Oye. Ecotrust, oye. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of today's event. There's still some food behind, so please feel free. Those media partners and digital partners who want to ask Pauline and the team more questions, please feel free. Also at the same time, we are going to be organizing media visits up country. So kindly, our media partners, digital partners, stay in touch with us. We'll let you know of the dates. They're going to start in June next month. So we'll be going to the west, the east, and also the north. So please be with us as we continue telling the stories of impact that Ecotrust has been the last 27 years. Kezia, any announcement, Felix? All right. The team from COG, thank you so much for your support. Otherwise, have a good morning and God bless you all. Thank you.
Omorukani karangara amazina Mtigabone Ndarugumu village ya Ruhunje Omorukani karangara Gomborra n'Itereko district Muto hati hakija abekitongore cyakabone batugambira kutushemerire kuhinga emiti yakabone bo bakagorogoya kandi cyo bakatwereza isi ababandi z'abantu nkabana bakabahembeho konganyowe embogo nkajegusha heye natandikanisa hati nija natandika nahinda nija bandambura nabole ku mwanya bagubaririra emiti byinshemire kubanda binga bakangambira kuhinga emiti runani banyego natandika nija nabyara kunabyara mwaka gwo kubanza mwene yiyaziroka bampa hesenti hati sente zikubazimpire niwe ekyetengo cyanje cyo kutandika kuhinga mbwenu sanyine kizibu cya kurfizi yenda kuhera abana hati kubazi twire twahera mabana twagumiza muto ahinga murundi rwa kabiri bashwa barambura bashanga project nyine yaragenda misho bashwa batongere nazo sente ezo bashwa twazikozesa nkakiriye kifatire genderire gukora cya sirikuzi twahinga ikinja yakora hati mtiku yakuzire hati imwende ebinde binago biremo yihireho school fees tukaba turabona mwenku arhoe turabona munkentegero zo kutegesa nk'ibitoke indizo hatahiyahika leyo kushara munkemba kandi mbaho nazo turaziha tishibira cyo cyarwa nemiterho mwene nyonda reba Ecotrust naje gobi tinganyowe mbone mukiga ndendeza abaye Ecotrust ubusinguzi na no kwika ahakiro icyo kujaguza emyaka 20 ya kaboni yizire mu Uganda obo mu Tereko
nabashira mu yego mwanya kandi nabashemererwa kureba kandi kugaraka kutureba utunga bahindire ndetse mwe n'amazina ganje nditugumisize kuri sofa ngiye mu village ya Bitereko kandi umuruka ni bugongo egombora nayo ni Bitereko kandi 16 mitomo umuteginga yara 12 na mukaga niwe natandika kubyareme ngiye no kugaruka mu rugendo rumbugi no kuvuga no kubyare miteji ngabanza navuga namo urugendo urugumire rukutunga ki embibo zo kubyara munji umunanga no mu mitomo ba konga mweri kunabitandiye kubya bibone miti nabyara tuzakwika kura nashanga urugendo rw'abaruringwa nango naenda ko aburabura mukwenda unjireza unjire kongo mutima gwa yangu ha gumiza muno girota nokora pasi kunaje nabyara ahwiriye myaka nkeshatu tuje bampama akasente kabakane kingane emitwaro 20 nahura kandi ubu najya nagaruka mu amani aho kubyara ki aho kubyara imiteje me kunagarukira mu amani hati nayongera kujyanta gwanengyara konga mwerwe cyo ndibyara emweyoma ndisho ngaro karakanta mwendijo ntamweyoma mweki mpura cyane girata cyamaramani kungangira ki ngiro kugumisiriza sizukiyani hati ngumisiriza umaniyata nimbyara hati kurina hati beja bashaba bamusezi ya kabiri bamantwara 28 hati mpura najya mwinshi amani imiti yanje none njikunda abo bane neje hamwe inagirenta unasharwire mu tingawa biya ine nasharwire mu nyamuruku nza kuhemba minishanye miteji nione mpwera mnonga nagire kizibu cyo ruku njente mamu tukumenza kujyanta nza kuteka kandi nyangobwe nagiranta nakendeza sente zino kubinishoza nyugure nyine ndijenki mwene ni rwo rugendo rw'ingenzuro mu mitomo imiti nimirungi kandi mwebare kujya iturete kasenda kunatungiremo sinakozire mukakase nganagajanta nakabi atamuherugwe myaka nkengaye iye najanta nakakosa nagura hembuzi najiranta najitaho mukiri naho naza kuzirebaho mukiri manje muzingibiri kunga mwene ezarugire muzimwe ngumana ngira ninze yanduse niskore imirimo yanjye so mwe naho mpurana aho abwe mitejo kusezinga sentezo mwempura najanta najanti ecyo nacyo kaba ikintu cyo cyaki icyo ushimire mitejo kindi hati kumpereze naze bibyona ndeba ni nyamwe mbazi iyo kujya ki niwona nko muzi ngihamwe ngikosa kandi bayanyama imibazi kandi kindi nyihamwe nku nazungira mpemba mu roba teke byo kuriyani mwe ndeba imiti nimirungi yino kuno kukigamba humbe nsima aba badesire kitongore icyo icyabe mitejo kutubyaze kandi nyo kunjizire nta kunjiganyirwe mbene mpura nimba sima ntine kuberukira
John Baptist Tinkamanyire ni yo musomesa mukuru akirezi yeje ya Paris yatandikire mu Rwanda mwenda kandi emiteji kajibyara umwaka gwe 2023 kandi ku rwumwe tugireberaje kandi nsima ba Ecotrust nabakira kuturayo akasempe ko kujiboneza so na nitwe netuyambamo baba twine kwenda gukora kandi turiyo ntunda no kongera mu kubyara osozo romonto chezi nangwa ari munama centers gamwe atwatandikira mu project stage ya so ndenda kubatima abo bwani mwe basi ndenda kubatima amyaka 20 ndubasaba okongera mu amani na munongo mu cyoga cyitwe icyarubirizi kandi na munonga itwenka nkekerezia na namakanisa mungere mu amani kubanga twine cyakezo mu byaro mayika n'amasenta matakagariyo so kumwa kuba mu kwatanisa nitwe project eje kwatanisa ni mu byongera mu bantu mu rundirizi
yaranyeta Lilian Bandi umuvyeje yacinyogo umuruko gwa Kigarama umugomboro ya Tereko state ya Mito nanye njomwe abahinzi b'imiti kandi abahinzi ukinge mito kukura tandika imiti eyitwayiziremo jangu eri mu kaboni naho twatandikiraho bahinga imiti nanye bahinga bahindire nahinga kandi imiti yizire kandi yo mu gashinga imiteji oyitandikira rw'icyo cya kaboni imiteji injiremo ibintu binji nakindi zihiremo ntabwo kuba iteke kirimo bureki umute yamwe kijama nayenda akasenze sinaronda bo kushara bagishara yamwe mbaho ni yamemyango nabiya musente zabiri zitari hansi ya miliyoni sente ako nanye kanyamba kumusha bikuru nebyetago bye kanyene mu bikuru akumiti nishe wakafa ibinyenye nabo ukakinyambere kubashira nebindi byetago bye bweni ndasima songo cy'imiti ahubwo kuba kuyanakinga nyambe kubitaho naye ndikuvuga ndakihamu bwanyuma kandi ubu yebi byona kuba twashobye sigo kugira ngo imiteje leta agakutamwe inshuti batwereze bihumi chairman bitunwogu umwana w'ishure kumwine byatkunde inshuti aho kwa wakayazitandikira kare yazikundisa azubu maraginga rwaho bana bayongera baruke byabo nk'abana nabyo bazamo batwereze kujya mu bwoti ubunyo bukiryo mu nshyiza akabuziye akagenda mu kazi cyangwa mu kigege ukabiye uka ndasime songore cyemiti abo kwa tubigemo amaguru twagihiremo mahango aho kwa nanyaho bana bishukuru kashanje batubire cyumusa uka ibira rugondo mitomu basi kuntu naze sente zibambire zikanyambaho cyangwa
Rwanda kandi umujizi nicereti awe kanise yandike cyato ku Uganda cye Paris ndetse tudikonare inyongera kusima abishitongore cha Ecotrust abo kutekateka kanisa ya hanga kandi bakatereza imiti nikimanya itaka ndabarusubire busa ugabo kutaho emiti kirebwa ibyo buhangwa byari bukajye umwanya gubonera wento basima n'ubiyambo bahiye kanisa kandi tubasaba kuranga ko yakugaruka yiguraho rwigi bagaruka kongera ubuyamba abo kwa project ginetengwa kugaruka kuboneza ubwa icyo nshaba ku ekitongore cyo cyonje kukitekatekaho okucyatandikire tubasima abo kongera tufaho nka project zatandikirwe amakanisa institutions nko ku byona biri twabasima mwebare abo kutikira kandi tubendeza kweje imyaka 20 yo kuzaguza itunge kanisa tubeturu kabakama bekintu abo kuba bataruho tukamanya okushemerwa tukashemerwa na project twire turebera kandi mwebare kuturebera abo biyambo mukubona umutamu kongera kwimuseje project tubendeze kuzaguza je obwe ruhanga ariyo muhwizi witu.
Record